Hi there. Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. Surprisingly, I am Chat Show. This is our 39th or 40th. God, who can keep track? And I just want to tell you right off the start here how unbelievably excited we are with today's show, today's guest. It's one of those, in the gambling parlance of the casinos, this would be a whale. We got ourselves a whale. We brought him in on some Japanese owner's jet. And we won't let him leave. You saw a casino. I'll be with you in a second. Couple things off the top here. Very exciting news. Our contest Dinner for 30 is finally coming to an end. This is fantastic. As you may or may not know, and feel free to glance away if you do, I won this Dinner for 30 at Hank Azaria's poker tournament last May, and Dinner for 30 sounded fantastic. Until I called in to make a reservation. First of all, I had to find 30 people that I wanted to eat with, which was very hard. Don't know them. 10 were strangers, but still I was ready to make the reservation. So I call up, and the owner says, oh, yeah, absolutely. You can come in on a Sunday afternoon, and it's hot dogs, hamburgers, or pasta. I said, sorry? I don't know those friends. I don't know those people that I would invite for that. So I've been offering up as a contest to a viewer, if you have children in Little League or some sort of function, you take kids out in a big group to hot dogs, hamburgers, and pasta, this would be a good thing I would pass along because I want that deadbeat from the Galley restaurant in Santa Monica to have to pay for dinner for 30 people that he offered up for this charity. I'm not letting him slide just because I'm not going to bring 30 people. So, we have a most delightful winner. We got lots of emails to contacts at kevinpollakschatshow.com. Gary Rollin, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Congratulations. We have a photo of Gary and his daughter. There they are. A fantastically out of focus photograph of Marty Feldman and his beautiful daughter. He wrote the most wonderful letter, email about his daughter was having a tough go of it, making friends at school, and he's a single parent, and this would be unbelievably helpful to have her be able to invite some people to this outing. And as opposed to the rest of the people who emailed and said, hey, I should get it because I'm cool. Right. And there was a couple of really good ones also. I don't want to suggest there weren't, but Gary Rollin touched us with his tale, which I didn't want to read in detail because it was quite a personal tribute to his efforts raising his daughter on his own. And the only thing I could do was to congratulate him today by saying, you've won Dinner for 30. And I get to stop talking about it. Yeah. Why the response? That's weird. Why would the people who are here every week find that amusing? This is a shiny thing. That's all I'm going to say. Wait, no, it's a live CD of mine called What Are the Chances? Available on the iTunes or the kevinpollak.tv. You should go there and take a look and buy yourself a couple thousand. Also, we have these. You got your chat show, the Donkey Tea folks. This one belongs to our guest today, which he will then give to the housekeeper. But I only speak from personal experience. Christmas bonus. You get a bag full of swag and a check. So you can get those at donkeytees.com and write in chat as the promo code, and you'll get 20% off on everything you buy from those fine folks, including that Kevin Pollak's Chat Show t-shirt. Wasn't kidding. That really is yours to give to the housekeeper. We had a rematch of the Stanley Cup today. There's a couple of Pens fans here in the room. A rematch against the Red Wings. And don't you know, the Penguins were victorious, so I just wanted to give a shout to those fabulous Pens. We love them so. Also, thanks to the Boulder Film Festival peeps, who, by the way, voted one of the top 25 film festivals in the world, which these days, that would be 25 out of 6 million film festivals. For their generous offer to honor me with a Career Achievement Award. Unfortunately, I'll be embarking on my directorial debut, working straight through that weekend and unable to attend, but I just wanted to say I was very, very honored for your offer to honor me. I'll say honor only once more. Sammy!
Hey!
Sam Levine, ladies and Jews, back from Slam Dance, the last remaining street cred at the festival.
What a trip I had.
Oh, tell us.
All over
Can't imagine
country.
Well,
before I went
whores available in Salt Lake.
At the snap of a finger, really. Well, first, I was in Hawaii.
Really? We're going to backtrack it?
Yeah, I have to, because I have little photos.
Oh, God. Wait a second. I have an A-list director, and you're going to
take 90 seconds.
You're going to give me
90 seconds.
Now, let's dive in.
Go to the first photo.
Let's go to Hawaii first.
Go to the first photo.
It better be.
It's beautiful.
Oh, you shot an episode of Lost.
I did.
Oh, that's why. Yeah.
That's why I was in Hawaii.
Yeah,
for
we're
30 hours.
Crazy Lost fans. You were there for 30 hours.
30 hours. Go to photo number 2.
You took that photo.
Yeah, we've never seen that.
I'm in the ocean. That's just to give you an idea of how beautiful Hawaii is. Now, I'm in Hawaii for 3 days practically.
Yeah.
I'm expecting ukuleles. I'm expecting hula skirts,
right.
big Samoans. Don't see any of that.
No.
Nothing.
You're on the set of Lost.
Then I get myself to freezing cold Utah, Park City. Go to the next photo.
Better
First thing I see.
Ukulele.
That's right.
Oh.
The ukulele should have been first there. I don't know what happened.
Oh, we have an actual ukulele?
An actual ukulele. Go to the other photo. There's a ukulele. Oh, God.
Wow,
you
this
guys
is
are awful out
fantastic.
there. There it is. Gal playing a ukulele. First thing I see in Park City.
Now I understand the transition. You are quite the storyteller. All right. So, other than that.
Me. I had a whole thing, and you're rushing me.
I know.
And then that other photo you saw was the whole drones crew right in front of the Egyptian.
We had these great filmmakers on the show in this wonderful film. There they are.
That's them.
Their film called Drones, and I love this movie, and that's why you and the rest of them were at Slam Dance.
At Slam Dance. The film had 2 screenings. It was packed both times, standing room only. People were sitting on the floor. It was wonderful. And then everyone told me afterward how much they loved the film, and we didn't win any awards. So it was a great, great trip for everyone.
Yeah, I'll say.
I've never won an award at Sundance. I've played 4 times, if that makes you feel any better.
Actually, it does. I was reading something about the curse of Sundance and Slam Dance. Like, if your film wins an award there, it will not be commercially successful. You know anything about that?
I've never heard that curse, but that has been my experience so far. So,
okay, great.
No, I think that's actually a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I think showing there was the victory.
Yes. Oh,
Slam Dance for a film that was made for $200,000.
125.
I'm sorry?
How dare you?
I misspoke.
It's weird. There's a competition now about how cheap your film can be.
We made it for $9.
Yeah, exactly. Like how cheap do you have to make it at this point to impress people?
I can name that tune in $4. Well, congratulations to you and everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Involved in drones.
I'm
thrilled to hear it, and I promised to do the follow-up, and there it was. This is one of my favorite kind of pre-show guests. I will start my introduction thusly. Because what happens is we don't have a hired booker here. There's no talent coordinator. There's no publicist. There's no help. There's nothing. So people who work on the show, Sam and others, have tried to help on occasion, or friends of the show in this case, Dan Erickson said. So I reach out and I say, I really want to get this guy, and who I'd met, but I had no real way of contacting him, and I'm certainly not going to call his publicist or agent because that will take forever. And so I write this really long email explaining why, assuming, as I must, that the person's never seen the show, is not familiar with it. You know, we've had 5 Academy Award winners, we've had this, we've had that. Here's all these people, aren't we fantastic? Hey, the LA Times wrote about us, blah, blah, blah. Page of this nonsense, to which he replies, you just had to email me, you in? So that is my favorite kind of pre-show experience with a potential guest. Now, I promised this guest that I would give a couple examples of the Larry King game so that he might participate at the end of the show, as everyone except for Jane Campion, that bitch, refused to.
Oh, she refused to?
I said I don't know who that is. And many people suspect that after my 87 heart attack, 1987 that is, I was given a baboon heart. This cannot be more false. It's actually given the heart of an ostrich. Index Washington, you're on. Here's my favorite. Not only am I credited in the Guinness Book of World Records for having logged more hours on national radio than any other talk show host, but I also hold the record for most dimes swallowed, 2 Egg, Florida. Do you have a question for our guest? All right. A couple examples. Jamie wrote both of those. Keep writing yours and sending them to go to the new chat show website. Did I mention that? Right now, as it's the last moments as it's being thrown up, you go to jeremyrscott.com/chat show, and you'll see all the fun there is to be had. And soon you'll be loading up your own damn Larry King game. More importantly, and precedent to today, his debut feature film, Thank You for Smoking, which he adapted from a novel by Christopher Buckley, put him on the map in a huge way, and ultimately in the thoughts of the heads of the 5 families, or as they're known in this town, the studio honchos. His independent creativity and vision forced him to steer clear of their empty promises and their actual boatloads of cash. By doing so, his creative karmic awards came soon after, when he met a 16-year-old pregnant character named Juno. This perchance meeting would not just completely and utterly change the lives of an unknown actress and a screenwriter, but his own as well. This so-called small film rang poignantly funny and true for a far greater audience than he had reached previously. Countless nominations and awards followed, not to mention some 230+ million in worldwide box office and another 57 million in DVD sales, a much coveted stat of the aforementioned honchos. The result, all of which, was that our guest became a bona fide A-list motion picture director. His latest effort, Up in the Air, which again he adapted from a novel, earned rave reviews from almost every single critic in the world, as well as a quite recent Golden Globe for Best Screenplay. In 2 mornings' time, the Academy Award nominations will be announced, and for those who enjoy predicting such outcomes, the question surely isn't will he be, but rather in how many categories will he be. So it is with a tad of said anticipation that I welcome this young master to our smaller version of Charlie Rose's table. Please say hello to a fellow that around these parts we've decided to call the independent Canadian Jew storyteller. Mr. Jason Reitman. Hello, sir.
Thank you for having me. You know, the only thing incorrect about your bio is that you made it sound as though I avoided the studio system, when the truth is the studio system had wanted nothing to do with me. I wrote Thank You for Smoking, and nobody wanted to make it.
Right.
And I was raised under the belief that nepotism would pave the road for me. That somehow, because I was the son of a famous director, my father, of course, Ivan Reitman, who directed Ghostbusters, a lot of other films, that somehow people would just be handing me movies. You know, people tell me this all the time. And when I had a movie to make, Thank You for Smoking, I'd written the screenplay, nobody wanted anything to do with me. No studio, no independent financing, nothing. All I would hear was, that's a great writing sample. You really should write more.
Oh, my God.
And it took an internet millionaire from Silicon Valley who signed a check for $6 million. The guy who created PayPal.
Sachs? Elon Musk?
David Sachs, exactly. And that's
my partner here is
started.
Jason Calacanis, and he's now Mahalo and David Sachs and Elon Musk. I think Elon might have thrown in a couple of dollars as well.
Yeah, they all, each one. There's like 5 partners. They sold PayPal to eBay for like $1.5 billion. Right,
and decided to give 5 to you?
6.
6.
Yeah.
Which is a lot, actually, for a small film.
For a small film. Well, it's way more than 125 grand. I mean, I know over there you're going like 6.5. I could make 30 movies for that. My entire career could be financed on your one movie.
No, but I remember when we did, although considerably longer ago, Usual Suspects was $5.5 million. That's a lot of money for a particularly otherwise small film.
You know, this is...
You find a way to spend everything.
Yeah, so, that's my... Yeah, you know, this is like, look, if you really want to make a movie, and you're about to direct a movie...
Actually, a web series, but go ahead.
A web series.
I made it seem more important than it was.
Oh, it's a web series.
Purposely.
Are you still calling it directing? No.
I'm pointing.
I try to... if I know I'm going to do a 90-minute interview, I want to get aggressive very early
Please.
on. I want the...
Please. I love nothing more.
Yeah, that'd be the worst mistake I could ever make, is get into an aggressive, humorous contest with you. You go out and you decimate audiences on a regular basis. I just have my ass handed to me. Yeah, if you're told you have $100 million or $5 million or $100 grand, you go,
That's
okay, yeah, okay, I'll figure out a way. It changes it. You know, Avatar would look different if made for $5 million.
A tad.
But you would figure out a way, you know, and you'd make it look like South Park, and that would be it. But you would figure...
Hand puppets.
You'd figure it out. So we had that budget. And it made sense with the actors that we had involved, and we went and made it.
How many studios, or minis, if, for that matter, actually read and said, it's a great writing sample before you got to the internet?
I mean, look, you got...
Dozens?
Oh yeah. Because you have the ones that everyone knows, like Warner Brothers and Columbia and Fox, and everyone knows those names. And then there's a whole other group that you and I know the names of that maybe other people don't know.
Right.
They're companies that have been started by independent financing, usually along with someone who was within the film industry who kind of knew what they were doing. It together. They started a company that makes like a movie or two a year. They have different agendas. Sometimes the agenda is to do, politically leaning films. Like the guy who created eBay has a company whose name I can't remember right now, Participant, and they make political films. And then there's other people who just want to meet actresses, and they start a company and they make movies, and they just want to meet girls.
Those are my kind of people.
Yes.
The slimier, the better, I always say.
But no matter whether they were slimy or political, nobody wanted to make that film. And I actually found the book up in the air while struggling to make Thank You for Smoking. It took me 5 years to find financing for Smoking.
Let's repeat that for a moment. 5 years. Now, that's not just waiting. That's the disciplined nature, I think, of the creative mind that I keep trying to impress upon everyone, which is you give your life to it or you don't. There is no giving up. There is no falling back. You have to have that single-minded persistence and belief and faith.
You got to be hungry
and desperate.
This is, my father. Okay, so when Smoking actually won a fair amount of awards, and my screenplay won. There's a point to this story. I'm not trying to be arrogant. It got a Writers Guild nomination, and it won the Independent Spirit Award for the screenplay. And as the Oscars came closer, there was this kind of thing. It was like, I think I'm going to get a nomination for my screenplay. And I remember waking up that morning at 5 in the morning, and the nominations come up, and it wasn't included. Borat got included for screenplay, which drove me crazy.
Of course it did.
And it's an improvised movie. And my father called me up. My father had been up an hour before me. He got up at like 3 a.m. or something. And he was just so, my father had never been nominated. He was so excited for me. And he's taught me everything. My father's my hero. And he calls me up, and he started to console me. And I don't remember a lot of what he said while he was consoling me, but there's one thing he said that I'll never forget. And he said, "This is only going to make you more hungry." And that's the smartest thing he could have said. Yeah. And that stayed with me. And it was one of those reminders of what's important is most people stop doing good work when they stop being hungry.
Oh, yeah.
And you could be hungry. I was talking to, Lee Daniels, who directed Precious. I was talking to him about this last night. He's from Harlem. I'm from Beverly Hills. We're both hungry.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it actually doesn't matter where you're from. You just have to have that instinct. You have to have that need to actually accomplish something and do something. And it has to be that fire that, for 5 years, I was offered to direct movies.
Right. Well, that was the part that I was getting at in terms of after Thank You for Smoking, in terms of avoiding the potential slide.
Oh, it was even during Thank You for Smoking. See, before I made Thank You for Smoking, I had made short films and commercials, and there was this understanding that I knew how to direct.
Right.
Dude, Where's My Car came to me twice. And both times...
Before and after Smoking?
No, both before Thank You... No, for 5 years. There's a lot of time.
Oh, that's right.
So, just checking again. It's been a couple years. So,
wow.
And that's a tough moment. I mean, because...
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and it's a big studio
comedy. You're directing
a
fucking movie. Yeah. Like, you're on set with actors making a movie, saying action, saying cut. It's going to be a movie. It's going to be in theaters. A theater that someone can go and buy a ticket to.
By the way, you read it and probably think, this is going to be enough of a hit so I can have a little more freedom on my next one.
Oh, yeah, and you always hear that.
And that's how I'll get Smoking financed.
Exactly. Just go make a movie. They just need to know you can direct a feature film. Just go direct anything.
I can't say enough, by the way, to the wherewithal of that, because the easiest thing in the world to do, quite frankly, is to do that movie, and you justify it immediately by saying, that's how I'll get Smoking.
Right.
Because it would have happened like that. Or we could pretend.
Oh, no, Smoking wouldn't have happened. See, the problem is that it doesn't happen that way.
They want you to do another one of those.
Well, all of a sudden they go, oh, you're that director.
Yeah.
And look, people always think that the great advantage of my childhood is that studios would just hire me, and that's actually the opposite of the truth.
It is the opposite.
Because if someone's the son of someone famous, you think they're retarded. I mean, you basically think, like, honestly, when I made my first film, people would give me compliments as if
How is this possible?
Yeah, I painted a painting with my feet because I was born without hands. Like, it was just like, you made a movie. Like, you know, like just this is incredulous that it could happen. And so the presumption is that you are talentless.
Yes.
So the real advantage is that I grew up watching a career. I know what happens when you make mistakes. I know what happens when you do well. I know the difference between being hot and cold. And
what it really means.
Yeah, and I'm aware of this stuff, whereas someone in my position who grew up with the son of a lawyer, doctor, or whatever, who has no access to the film industry, who suddenly had a career or the opportunity of a career, might spend their cachet the wrong way because they don't know the consequences of doing it wrong.
Right, and I think that's the point I was getting at. Early on, you decided, I'm not going that route.
Right. I'll save that for later. When
it's time to cash out.
When it's time to really cash, when I'm like, fuck, you know, I would like to fly private.
Yeah.
Shit.
You'll go to the cashier window of show business, and you'll say, do you take any of these? You'll have these awards and trophies.
The problem is that you read when David Cross got into a fight with Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt accused David Cross for selling out for being in the Chipmunks movie, and David Cross wrote back saying, you know, I've always wanted to buy a house in upstate New York. I wanted a place to get away to, and when I went to buy it, I tried to buy it with indie cred, and the guy looked at me like I was crazy. I had to explain to him that this had a lot of value, and I'd been, accruing this over many years. He wanted money.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. I want to ask now about that process.
I have my Larry King, by the way. I have it. So it's
so early in the game. It's 5:22. My God,
it's banked and ready to go. Now I just have to somehow deliver it.
Yeah. Well, you got an hour to figure out the delivery, because that's only slightly important. So we've discussed the difficulties of raising the money. I'm curious about your process, if I may. I had a screenplay that now Billy Bob Thornton's attached to star in, but 7 years ago or so, when I first shopped it, one of the places, Focus Features, greenlit it. Of course, everything's cast contingent, always has been, really. So during the casting process, the head of the company is replaced. And so I now think you shouldn't really be allowed into the Directors Guild unless that's happened to you.
Unless there's been a regime change while you were in the midst of trying to get a movie made.
Yeah, and when it all was put on.
This hasn't happened to me, but I know so many people that it's happened to, and it's a dream killer. I mean, it's because you need people to champion things for you.
Yeah.
And when that person goes away,
the new guy wants nothing to do with you.
It's not just it's not even. It's not as if they're just not aware of you. They actively do not want their predecessors' projects to succeed.
Exactly. So my question is, when you go through your process of casting, for example, and you're adapting material, my experience writing is that I don't like actors in my head. I need these characters to thrive as wholly original, unique entities that I'm playing with on paper, or in our case, the computer screen. What is your process like? Do you start?
I'm the opposite.
Ideas come to mind?
I need the voice.
Nice.
Like if I was writing for you, I know your voice. I've seen so much of your work, and knowing your voice helps me write it because I know how you would say things.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean that Kevin Pollak is the character, but I know all the kind of language that's within your range and all the other kind of little things you do, and because of that, that starts to play into how I write the role. So in Up in the Air, 8 or 9 of the characters were cast before I wrote. And the big question was, will George say yes?
Right.
That's the big, my fallback for Clooney was so different. If George had said no, this is going to sound so strange, my second choice was Steve Martin, which is a completely different movie.
Yeah, but not that strange in the terms of storytelling.
Because you know Steve and you understand how he shares certain characteristics as far as kind of his life and who he's wanted to share his life with, and kind of the pathos that goes along with his comedy, and that this would be kind of an interesting opportunity for him to explore that in the same way that like Bill Murray explored it in Lost in Translation.
Sure.
But it's still they look different, George and Steve. I mean, it's like it's a different guy, and I'd have to rewrite it.
Mathematically, there are problems in the looks division.
You said that, but
and I meant it.
After that, I was pretty confident Vera was going to say yes, and that Anna was going to say yes, and that I'd worked with J.K. and I'd worked with Bateman, and I thought they would say yes. Outside of scheduling problems, I was presuming everyone else would be in. I've just started writing it. I started writing my new film this last Monday. I'm a week in, and yeah, the main guy I know who I want at least.
Right.
The main girl, it's like down to like 2 or 3 people in my head, and then there's a kid. The kid I don't know because it's impossible to know who's going to
find him.
Yeah, and who's going to be right to play 13 years old in a year.
Right.
Because if you start falling in love with the right kid. I was about to say, if you start falling in love with the right 13-year-old, then I tried to adjust the statement. But now, by the time you go to shoot it, they'll have grown up, and even within a year, they'll be wrong. So,
yeah. All right. So then, given all of that, let's talk about this perchance meeting between you and this pregnant 16-year-old character, Juno. Here's a script that already exists, and it's brought to you, and so there is no casting while you're creating. So in that case, what is your casting process like?
The casting process was, I read the script, I had seen Ellen Page in Hard Candy, and I just knew, okay, this girl's kind of perfect for this, and then I went and met her, and it was like meeting Juno. I went to visit her on the set of a movie she was doing.
So there's not a group of actresses that come to mind? You actually put a number one and just stay with it until they say no?
I never considered another human being for Juno. I was so clear in thought on that. I knew her from Hard Candy. I knew her ability to kind of turn on a dime, do tricky dialogue, and make things honest.
And look 16.
Yeah, and she was a kid, too, like a legit kid, which I thought was important, and not like a 25-year-old playing. And I just knew she was right. And Michael, I had watched Arrested Development. Michael was actually supposed to be in Thank You for Smoking. Michael was supposed to play Cancer Boy in the opening scene of Thank You for Smoking, and he's Canadian, and we couldn't get his visa worked out. So I was familiar with him, knew he was great, knew he'd be perfect for Bleecker. We needed innocence, and he's like the last innocent in this city.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of extrapolated from there. I have very.
Did you think who else in the Arrested Development cast could I get now that I know Jason?
No, that was actually a recommendation by Jennifer Garner.
I think his energy on film is liquid magic.
There's something about him. It's really interesting, and it speaks to this. Magic is the perfect word because if you go back historically. Filmmakers and studio heads talk about charisma and talk about star power, this kind of idea that you just see someone on screen and it just happens. You go, oh, that's a movie star. Right. And even before we started, we were talking about Jack Black and that kind of whatever that quality is in him. And Jason has that if you met him in mixed company, he's obviously very funny, but you and I know lots of funny people. There's something about him.
It's an ease. There's an effortlessness to his charm that is instantly disarming while being to women uncomfortably adorable. And to he's that thing where they would write about and have been where the women want to be with him and the guys want to be him. He has that essence without any sort of effort, and I think it's that lack of effort that draws me in because I see a lot of people trying
really hard.
Yeah.
Well, he's not only effortlessly funny, he's effortlessly intelligent.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm constantly used to actors trying to appear intelligent on screen and feel as though, okay, they put on glasses, where Bateman is, he's smart. And you can almost feel him pulling back on his own intelligence because he doesn't want to appear too smart. And you see his mind reading the situation in real time. The thing with Bateman is that he's such a marvelous improviser that you presume, he's a guy who just shows up on set and he feels it and he does it. I remember having long conversations with Jason on Juno and Up in the Air. He had figured out his character, written out the arc. He is a real effing actor, and we had to. One of the most complicated scenes he's ever done is this basement scene at the end of Juno, where You know, Juno comes to his house. He's like, hey, I got something to show you. And they go down into the basement, and she's playing him a song, and they start dancing, and you start to get this weird vibe of, wait, is he about to make a move on this girl? It was my favorite scene in the screenplay. I thought, oh, God, this is a complicated and really dark effing scene. And we never know. We never actually find out, was he actually really, like, making a move on her? And we talked about that scene all week long, about how it was going to play out. So he's a very thoughtful actor. And
Michael Cera, I remember, I think you were at some place in post, but it was certainly quite a while before Juno came out, and it was at Hank's poker game, and you were talking a little bit about his performance in Juno, and him sort of being authentic, as in there's not a lot of acting going on.
Yeah, well, also authentic also in that he has the ability to make anything sound real. And that's a very rare quality. Now
that's
you think
the ultimate acting, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, look, directing at the end of the day, the whole job is finding truth. Is like getting people to sound real. So when you watch it on screen, you don't call bullshit on it. And with Diablo is a genius writer, but her language is unusual. I mean, it's like Quentin's dialogue
not terribly reality based.
Yeah, people don't talk like that. Right. So you're you either make it real or it's going to be bad, or you know.
Yeah, there's a moment in Juno for me where she has to turn a corner in terms of performance, because there was a moment where it was like, is she going to say something quippy again? You know?
Right, yeah, is this going to be the whole movie? Is this just going to be a girl commenting on life using this?
I hadn't met too many 16-year-olds that were that advanced in their quippiness.
Well, they talk. What Diablo started doing is she wrote the way kids write online. And that was it, is when, if teenagers are given enough time to kind of process an idea and then write something funny in a blog, she said, why can't that just be live dialogue? Wow. And that was the idea, that was the experiment. And I remember reading the Juno script and thinking, God, I've never heard any of these expressions, but I know exactly what they mean. I thought that was really exciting.
Right.
But yeah, we needed Ellen and Michael to say these things so that if it was anyone else, and I did see other auditions, because girls would just put themselves on tape for Juno, and I saw them, and it was so clear that in the hands of anyone else, the language sounded strange, and it was really Ellen and Michael who made it work.
No, it's quite an accomplishment, because there's a turning point where the quippiness becomes, wow, this kid's trying to find out who she is and fit into any situation.
Right.
She's actually using this as opposed to a 16-year-old just who happens to talk that way all the time. There was a little bit of that turn that...
Well, yeah, there's a vulnerability.
Yeah.
And look, again, two very rare qualities that Ellen and Michael both have. I mean, the movie wouldn't have worked with just Ellen and some guy, and it wouldn't have worked with Michael and some gal. There was something about the two of them that was innocent and charismatic and real. It was all those perfect things they seemed right for each other.
Let's jump into it when you know that's going on, that you actually have lightning in a bottle, and you're either watching on the monitor, thanks to Jerry Lewis, or you're watching in the editing bay.
It's way earlier. It's way earlier.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but I mean...
No, we did because it's interesting, instead of an audition process, I actually did like an old-fashioned screen test where I brought 4 of the actors down, and we put them on a stage similar to this with 35mm cameras, and I shot many scenes. We shot 40 pages in one day in a black box.
Jesus.
And no, I mean, and not Jesus on me, Jesus on the actors who memorized 40 pages of dialogue.
Yeah, so I was just thinking I wanted to kill you.
No, but there was this kind of like, we're going to do this, and I told the actors, I don't want to do an audition process. You are the ones, but I need to show the studio why. And they're like, okay. And they came in, they knew all their dialogue, we went through all these scenes, I cut them together, sent them to the studio, and it was undeniable. And you could watch the two of them, you know, in like this, in, you know, black limbo, and you were heartbroken for her father, and you saw these two in love, and it was like, no matter what, we're making a movie that's going to have some magic to it. Whether 5 people see it or 5 million people see it, there's something really magical about this. And that pushed everyone forward, and that was it.
I'm guessing prior to them seeing that footage, the studio, what were their reaction to these two actors in terms of...
It was always this kind of, okay, you may have to find two unknowns for Juno and Bleecker, but we really got to cast up on... and I heard some awful ideas for the couple that was going to adopt.
Right. Somebody's name's got to go on the poster.
As well as like who her parents are going to be. Like I remember... okay, like I'll give you two actually very good actors who I'd love to work with who were suggested to play Juno's father who had both been wrong. One was Jeff Bridges, and the other one was Hugh Laurie, who plays House.
Sure.
Great actors. Like, yeah, I should be so lucky to work with either of them. But I don't want Juno to be talking to her dad and for the audience to be going, look, Juno's dad's Jeff Bridges. Juno's dad's Starman. You know, like, I just don't want that to be going through their head.
Right.
I want it to be a guy I actually know who actually, you know, he's not from Minnesota, but he's from close. And he, you know, and there's something real about him.
Right.
And he's an actor, J.K. Simmons, that everyone's also associated with him, with this kind of gruff personality that started on Oz and continued through Spider-Man.
Right.
And now I'm going to show that he has heart and there's sensitivity to this guy. But that's a really hard, because the studio's going, we got this director coming off of Thank You for Smoking. We know we can cast this shit up. Getting them to say yes to J.K. Simmons was really hard.
Oh, sure.
That was the...
That's not a name for the poster.
No, they didn't think that was going to draw a box office. I mean, God bless J.K. Simmons, but...
No, we all know what the poster means.
Yeah.
Yeah. We by the way, we character actors, we certainly know. Well, I remember the first time somebody suggested I was number one on the call sheet, I said, so you want no one to see this? Is that what you're saying? you want to go right to the bin? Because in the number 3rd position, I will hit the ball deep. I remember on A Few Good Men, actually, Rob Reiner saying, look, Tom's swinging for the fences, Jack is going to be crazy from the get, Demi's going to have to swing hard to try to fit in. I need you to hit like a double up the gap, honestly. I really do. I need some sort of anchored. Once they saw the footage of these two and the magic that was in the black drape room, was there any pressure afterwards? Because I remember, again, as magical as that moment is, these people who write checks and these people who have the position of not wanting to get fired from their lofty perches overthink and second guess. So were you left alone during the shooting?
Once we started shooting, yeah. We had this this beautiful thing, which was that there was a studio and an independent financer that went 50-50, and they would argue with each other and leave me alone. The last moment that happened was the actor who was supposed to play Mark. Mark is the character that Jason Reitman played. The actor fell out literally days before we started shooting. And I'm not going to name who he was, but he got nervous. He just looked at the character finally, he's like, I can't do this.
Wow.
Texted me.
Jesus.
And pulled out of the film. That is the origination of in Up in the Air, when the boyfriend breaks up with her over text message. The origination is this guy. So it's like, oh shit, and that was the last moment where the studio went at me hard, like, cast this role. We can get a guy. We can get, you know, X, Y, or Z. And Garner had just worked with Bateman on that Iraq film.
Yes.
The Pete Berg film.
Yeah.
No, nobody? All right, thanks. It's very valuable having...
Kingdom.
Thank you. And she said, you love him, he's great, you know, I want him to play my husband. And I was like, you're right, he's great, let's do it. And that was it.
Because sometimes there is pressure. Was there, from those folks, when you're dealing with that sort of untapped people in terms of who goes on the poster, and yet you feel the magic that's happening right there? Ron Howard tells a great story, Night Shift, a star turn for Michael Keaton. But a week into shooting, the studio's looking at Daly's going, he's all over the fucking map. Who is this guy? I don't know what the hell's happening. Can he just stand still for 1 second? Literally, how do we remove the magic of this guy and just get him to stand there and talk?
Maybe a little too magical. Maybe just a little.
He's all over the place. Literally wanted to replace him. Every day, Ron said he was getting calls saying, you cannot make this movie.
No. Juno was, once we started shooting, you could just, I mean, look, Ellen was so good. She had these eyes that were just like, they were so deep, and the longer the lens, the tighter you went on her, the more magical she was. So through dailies, and look, I'm a very efficient director. I'm on budget, I'm on schedule. Juno we made for $7 million. So
Jesus, really?
Yeah, cost $7 million, gross $230.
Right.
No points. Thank God Fox is such a generous studio.
Auto? I'm turning into a refrigerator in here. Can you make sure that's on auto behind you? Thanks.
We got into editing. I cut the film, and I cut really tight. I cut fast and I cut tight, and there's no fat on my movies. I'm the first one to say, get rid of that scene. It's doing nothing for us. I don't care. That is the funniest line in the movie. It's gone. And, I got Juno down to like 95 minutes, in 6 weeks. And showed it to the kind of the heads of both independent financing and studio, and everyone cried in the screening. And they're like, well, we have a few notes. They're like crying. We have a few notes. It's like, you know what? Let me just test the movie. Let's see how we do. I'm a big believer in test screening. Most directors are terrified of it. I like it, and I've grown up watching it, so I kind of know how to use it. Went in, tested the movie, scored fantastic. And after that, it was like, we have a few notes. It's like, no, you don't. Come on.
You knew the power of a great test score.
Yeah.
Having been around your father and his experiences.
Yeah.
And the power of that is what you got out of it.
It's a gamble.
Exactly. It is a huge gamble.
No, because if it scores poorly, even if you know how to fix it, they're going to be coming at you hard.
You got to listen.
Well,
to pretend to listen.
Now I have Final Cuts, and now you know what? Getting notes when you have Final Cut is great.
Yeah, you say yes.
Love that.
It's a great idea.
I love your keep on coming.
I learned fairly there are 3 kinds of notes. Tell me if I'm off I'm off by a couple.
All right.
There are notes that just literally water off a duck's back. There's nonsense that doesn't matter, doesn't mean anything, and it's ridiculous. Then there's notes that I'll chew on it a little, but I don't think there's too much there. And then there's notes that are also sort of instantly, that's not a bad idea. Those rarely come, but when they do you have you found yourself open?
I'm very receptive. Look, Sam Mendes said something once. I thought it was so smart, and it was something that I'd kind of felt but never been able to articulate. And he said, "I'm extraordinarily open-minded, but more than that, I'm opinionated." And I think that's kind of how you have to be as a director. Is you have to be receptive, because you never know where good ideas are going to come from. At the same time, you have to know exactly what you feel, which may mean that you only take 2% of the ideas that are suggested. You're open.
Well, an example of that is, who's got an idea for this? And they start spinning them out. Nope, yes, nope. Then there's a perfect example of being open. And knowing exactly what you want.
I would never say who has an idea for this. Well, as a director, you have to be in control. I think as a director, I think there has to be a sense that, no, I know exactly what we're doing here, but if someone comes to you something, you have to know right away whether that's going to work or not. And sometimes it doesn't work, and you can't go through explaining why it's not going to work. But the trickiest thing with the notes is often they're reacting to a problem that exists. They just have the wrong solution, and you know what the solution is. Now you just got to go do it, and then it really is just a personality thing. Do you have it within you to be gracious and listen and go through the conversation, and then go back and fix it the way you know it needs to be done?
Right. And how are you with?
I'm going to put my hat on. I'm not a douchebag. I just want my hair out of my eyes. I'm explaining that, and I
think every part of that statement is true.
Okay.
How are you with the delegating of power to department heads, counting and depending on department heads, and then prior to that, going about finding those department heads?
I'm realizing this is just advanced research for the directing. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, here's the thing. You just came from doing Oprah and all these other interviews where you're talking about nothing. Talking about, how do you storyboard? You were talking about nothing but up in the air. And I thought, the truth is, and Jamie pointed this out, we've had a couple of filmmakers on, and people are abjectly fascinated with the process. They really are.
Yeah.
And the jury's in. up in the air is fantastic, and we will talk.
Oh,
yeah, and I know
I'm kind of cool talking about whatever you want today.
Well,
I'm in a good mood. And
excellent.
You're easy going. Let's talk about whatever you want.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, for example, your DP.
Yeah.
When I was set to do that movie, and hopefully someday soon, I met with actors who had directed, because that process for me was, because I'm going to play a smaller role in this. And so that trickiness of either removing yourself from it as an actor and just directing, and I wanted to talk to a few who had done both, Tom Hanks and Kevin Spacey, and I just wanted to get their take on a few things. My first question was, what is from they had both done only one movie. And I said, from that experience, what is those regretful days, those regretful moments? They like a poker player remembers the hands he lost, not the hands he won. And Tom said, in terms of working with the DP, he said the first couple of days I would wake up 3 a.m. with this incredible epiphany of a shot, where as we walk into the giant theater, we'd actually start on the big chandelier that's been there since the 30s, and we hear the boys talking as they're walking through the theater. We find them around the stage, and I would get down to the set that day, and I would be explaining this to Tak Fujimoto, his DP, and I would finish with it all, and I would look at him with all this enthusiasm, and he would say, "Let's see what the actors do." And Tom said, "Oh, like when I acted in a movie." The director says, "Here's the space.
Right.
Let's run the scene."
Right.
So when you have you worked with, I'm assuming, different DPs?
I've worked with the same DP since I was 15 years old.
That's the only DP you worked with?
I've worked on commercials. I've worked with a bunch of different DPs, and actually a different DP shot Thank You for Smoking. But the most consistent working relationship I've had is with my cinematographer Eric Steelberg, who's terrific. Who shot this year? He shot 500 Days of Summer and Up in the Air. So he actually had 2 Best Picture nominations for Golden Globes. And this is a guy who we're the same age, and I remember this moment where I was having a lull in my commercial directing career, and because of that, he was having a lull in his cinematography career, and he was working the desk at Sammy's Camera, and I remember having a phone conversation with him where he's like, "I don't know if I can afford to be a DP," and I was like, "Just stick with me, we're going to make it." And now he's a hot commodity, But
so your process with him, in terms of a shot list, in terms of let's see what the actors are going to do? It's
a combination. I mean, look, as an actor-director, I find there's a hard thing of just, particularly if you're going to act in your own movie, is being aware of what you're doing on screen versus off screen, and getting the crew to take you seriously as a director. I mean, that's just a tricky step, no matter what. Getting anyone to take you seriously as a director is tough, but going from acting to directing, I think that's just one of those, like, no, really, I have a plan, and let's do this.
Most directors I talk to, that first part you mentioned, whether they're actors or not, plays pretty profoundly in terms of, on their first film, on their first feature, getting the respect of the crew, or just letting everyone know, I am the captain of this particular vessel, without shouting it.
Yeah, imagine, I started directing commercials when I was 22 or 23. So imagine, I looked so young. I was 22, 23. I'd show up on set. First time I showed up on set, a guy walked up to me and said, "Listen, I need you to set up trash bags there, there, and there."
Oh my God.
And I said, "I'm the director." And he said, "Oh, I thought you were a PA. Sorry, can I get you anything?" It was. I remember directing a Honda commercial in London when I was like 24, 25, and the British are really tough on their young directors. I mean, in England, as a director, you really have to work through the system, and it's a rank thing, and they hated me. I mean, they did not want to listen to a word I said. So yeah, there's a kind of strange, I have a vision, follow me into battle. But you create a family of people you work with, and then that's fine. I find you have to be prepared for whatever scene is. Look, certain scenes, you have to see what the actors are going to do. It's about them, and you got to see what they're about. And particularly if you trust your actors, which you should, see what they're going to do. You got a plan, but look, put them in the room. More often than not, they'll start. The actors start doing something, and then they'll look to you and go, "Where should I go from here?" It's like, all right, well, maybe do that. Right. And then you figure out your camera work, and then sometimes, like George Clooney going through security. Airport security in
specific cuts.
Really specific. I mean, where I had drawn storyboards, then taken photos, then gone to the location with a video camera, done video of every shot, then cut that together to make sure I had exactly the right thing, and then literally reshot everything with a real crew and a real 35 camera. So it's the range, and frankly, you don't know until you edit.
Right.
And that's the hardest thing about directing for the first time, is you don't know what you need as a storyteller until you've gone into editing and realized, oh, fuck, I don't have anything I need.
Right.
I shot this completely wrong.
Right.
The horrible myth that is taught in film schools is that directing is a perfect science. Everyone hears this Hitchcock story that he would only shoot certain lines of dialogue from certain angles and wouldn't do complete takes because he had all mapped out in his head. And this creates a belief that that's what filmmaking is.
Oh my.
You are a genius and you know everything from start to finish,
Right.
and there are no mistakes. Directing is making mistakes. Every time you go to direct, you are doing something that has never been done before. You are showing up in a location that presumably has never been shot before, or even if it has, never been shot for these purposes, with these actors doing this dialogue for this story. So you're trying to do something for the first time. You're originating an idea,
Right.
and you're going to make mistakes. And it's really only from making hundreds of decisions every day and getting certain things right and certain things wrong that you start to build a vocabulary and a knowledge of how to create a scene, so that when you walk into a room and you go, this is not going to work for that reason, this is going to work for this reason, this is a little safer, this will be a little trickier, and it just starts to come. It's the hardest thing is interviewing directors, because you can't explain how to direct. It is simply instincts based on taking chances and making mistakes.
So then, early on, maybe versus now,
in my early career,
did you find, well, yeah, because quite frankly it was there. Did you find, in terms of the relationship, I've seen several from several masters, their relationship with their cinematographer. You know, Barry Levinson was a wonderful, talented writer. And then he would be really great at casting. But I called him the phantom director because I don't think he ever suggested anything.
Oh, I pick
anyone.
the shots he likes. That's our relationship. I pick every shot.
Right.
I pick every lens. I'm very specific. It's actually kind of a point of frustration because I'm a writer-director. I think sometimes there's this presumption that I don't shoot. Sometimes I operate myself, but I say, give me a 40. I go, I pick the lens, I say, put an X here, this is where the shot's going to start, I move it over, this is where the shot's going to end. Shooting-wise, I'm very specific on composition and lensing. Lighting, I don't understand lighting. It's Chinese. Like, it just, I look at your face, I have no idea why the light's hitting you this way and why it's shading this way. And my cinematographer
does.
Perfectly.
Yes.
And our biggest job, really, Kevin, is the greatest thing we do for each other is when one of us comes up with a cool shot, the other one gives a shit for it. So if I'm setting up a shot that isn't good for the scene, it's just a cool shot,
right.
He'll come up and go, that's a cool shot. Hey, Mr. Cool Shot, that's a cool shot. Look at you, Mr. Fancy. Hey, Scorsese. And and it's like, it's not right, is it? No, Mr. Fancy, go do it. It's like, yeah, you're right. And then we keep each other honest.
Right. All right, so you touched on what am I going to do if George says no. So let's talk a little bit about, because you were kind enough to share your experience with Ellen. I'm sure she was extremely enthusiastic when she got her hands on the material that you wanted to.
Big time.
Yeah. Now you're going after
the biggest movie star in the world.
Yeah, I was just trying to think who else. I guess, I mean, it's arguable. So there's probably 5 of them.
Right.
And he's either 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
But all 5 of them are unattainable.
Yeah, the most discerning movie star in the world. Let's call it that, because he is the guy who does not make movies for the wrong. He doesn't do anything for the wrong reasons. When he goes to Darfur, it's for the right reasons. It's not bullshit. He does it for the right reasons. And when he does a movie, he does it for the right. There's a reason behind everything he does. Even his quote-unquote sellout movies are directed by Steven Soderbergh, he's the impossible one. He's the one that it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Even if the script's perfect, if for some reason it's not, he ain't going to do it.
Right.
I was terrified.
It makes him as elusive as any creature gets, quite frankly, to a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And also knowing that every other filmmaker wants him to at this exact moment.
Oh, he turned down Thank You for Smoking. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, like, that was it. It's like, you know, he's like, I wrote Thank You for Smoking. George, will you play it? No. Fuck.
Right.
Yeah. So what happened was, during the Juno Awards experience, I met him at something, and I said, I'm writing something for you. He's like, oh, good, let me know when it's written. And I told his agent I was writing something for him, and his agent would keep track of me. And at one point, he called me up, and I said, look, I'm like a week away from done or a month away from done. In the middle, I'm going on vacation with my wife. So I'll either get it done before I go, I'll get it done while I'm gone. We'll be in Italy. He goes, well, why don't you go visit George in Italy? I said, that doesn't sound like a good idea, man. It's fun. Like, I remember when I used to watch movies as a kid, and there would be a storyline of a guy who was trying to get a date with a girl who didn't want anything to do with him. And that always seemed insane. It was like, why would you want to go on a date with a girl that wanted nothing to do with you? That sounds awful. Yeah. And like, why would I want to show up at George's house when he like doesn't even like fucking know me, and like does he even want me there? He's like, no, he loves having guests over. And I said, why not? I'll send the script if he likes it. You know, we'll be there. I guess we can go. And we were in Italy, and he said, go to the house. He's ready, he likes it. Yeah, go to the house. Here's the directions. When you get there, is who you talk to. I was like, all right. We get there. He's not even there.
It's Richard Kind. Jason, I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, hi, Richard.
I made tuna fish.
Right. Okay.
It's the best Italian tuna fish.
Is George going to be back soon?
He'll be here any minute.
Okay.
What can I get you? Do you need a set of keys? I have 4.
It's a great bathrobe.
All right, silk pajamas. So you show up, and George is not there. It's the staff.
Yes, the staff shows us around. It's beautiful, and then we hear like the sound of a Harley, and he literally comes in on a Harley, like out of a movie.
It's Clark Kent.
Yeah, no, I mean like there isn't a moment he's not, and. He's like, let's have wine and like cheese. And I was like, oh, okay. I never drink. Was like, I'm not gonna say no. So now I'm like, we're drinking and we're talking, and within 5 minutes, literally, he says, so what are you working on these days?
Oh boy. So now you know he hasn't read it, and here you are.
Well, his script's up in there. He's like, oh, yeah, Brian told me about that. I gotta read that. It's like great. And yeah. And so now, like, we're staying at his house. It's great.
Yeah, but you're in that presumptuous place you didn't want to be in.
Yeah, I feel really awkward. Like, I'm the last guy who wants to impose. I really just let me just be at my house and like at my own house with my wife, and like we'll just like not impose on anyone. And here it's like this really nice house, and I know he has all these guests, and he's, by the way, the greatest host on earth. He's a great raconteur. I mean, tells these wild stories and gets in character, and he's fun and
we're hilarious, by the way.
Really funny.
God, funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
When they say God rarely gives with 2 hands,
yeah,
he did to George.
Yes, no, like
it's
not
ridiculous.
Not BS movie star funny, because some movie stars get away whatever they say, like people laugh at. He is honest to God funny, and when he tells a story, he's not casually, I'm George Clooney, I could tell. He gets in and he's doing characters and so and is revealing, and it's great. So 2 days go by, and we're staying at his house, and it's everything you could ever want is there. There's like, do you want to go for a bike ride? I got 10 bicycles. Just take a couple bikes, go out. Because anytime.
What do you want for lunch?
Yeah, it's that, and it's wonderful. It's heaven. I can understand why he lives there, and one day he disappears for 7 hours, and literally my wife and I get to the point where we think, he's ditched us. He's gone, because usually there's like many couples there. Like people come. There's lots of rooms. And it's just the 3 of us, which is strange enough as it. But he disappears.
Now it's you and the staff.
It's us and the staff, and we've kind of done everything we could do on our own, and we think,
gotta go.
He must have gone. And really at that last moment, the dinner bell. There's a dinner bell. Dinner bell rings. It's like, are we really going downstairs to have dinner? It's the 2 of us? And he walks into our room, and he says, I just read it. It's great. I'm in. That's it. Like, that was the exact quote.
I'm going to need a minute with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
wow.
And now it's just, control yourself. You are a director. You presumed he would say yes. This is the
keep your feet on the cement.
and at that point, we had a 6-hour dinner. And again, I think I mentioned I never drink. Like not like I, you know.
Oh, you got plastered.
You're
still a little hungover from that
man
night.
can drink. And my wife leaves halfway through. The two of us drank 4 bottles of wine, and all I remember from the end of that night is it's 3:30 in the morning. George and I are in his kitchen looking for snacks, and he's in the fridge going, "Where did she put that?" I'm like, I can't believe George just said yes to my movie, and now we're drunk in his kitchen looking for snacks.
Ago. He said yes 8 hours ago.
It was no, I didn't stop smiling for months, and then
it just makes or breaks everything.
Yeah. I mean, well, at that point, I hadn't even shown it to the studio yet. At that point, I was like, here's a script. George said yes, so we'd like to go in March. And
that's what's good for him.
Yeah. And then he's the most giving actor because he's a director, a successful director, an Academy-nominated director who's been around the process since he was a kid and when his dad did television. Sure. Never leaves set. He fucking loves it. He loves shooting. Just can't get enough of it. And is thinking about all the things that I'm thinking about. He's thinking about the fact that I'm trying to make my day. He's thinking about the fact that I just cast a local actor. They were fine in their audition. And now...
Not so much.
Well, they're freaked out by him. It's a girl who's like supposed to say, "Hello, Mr. Bingham," and she can't say her line because it's George Clooney. And she just doesn't have the goods. And he's helping me direct her, not by giving her notes. He never crosses that line, but rather through his performance with her is getting her comfortable and getting better out of her. Day 2 we shot the ultimate scene in this film for him. The scene that everyone would talk to me and say, "Are you going to get him vulnerable enough?" Because that was the whole thing. Is sure he's charming and everything else, but has he ever been vulnerable on screen? That was the big question. And in this movie, there's a scene he does on a monorail.
Yep.
Having just found out a large key piece of information about this woman he's fallen in love with, and you got to look into his eyes. He's got to be lost. And it was day 2 of the shoot, and you would know as an actor, dick move as a director.
Well, you don't
do that. And it was
could have been worse by one day.
It's a location-based thing, and he got it. And he's like, "That's when it's got to be. That's when it's got to be." We were in Detroit for 4 days. We were in this terminal, and then we were switching cities. And so he's doing already like a really complicated piece of acting, and then it's a 45-second scene on a 30-second monorail ride. Right? So it's just like right as it's hitting the culmination every time, it just comes to stop. You're like, and it's one of those things you don't think about as a director is, I guess we should have timed how long this monorail is because it's
none of them do. You got to go to Dallas and go make a couple of loops.
Exactly. So and this is the stuff that happens every 5 minutes on a set, but this one's a biggie. And Vera's off somewhere else on a cell phone doing the off-camera dialogue.
Sure.
She doesn't know when this monorail's coming to a start or stop. And he did the most amazing thing. We're on take 3, and he's killing it. And he just stops listening to whatever she's saying, and he starts speeding up the pauses between his lines of dialogue and times it out so his last line came as the monorail came to a stop. As she's giving the wrong off-camera dialogue into his phone, closes the phone, and ends the scene. And it was so miraculous to see a guy who is obviously tailored perfect for this part, acting like a motherfucker, doing this crazy shit on day 2, and aware of my directorial problems. And instead of, many actors would go, "You got to slow this fucking monorail down. I can't do this."
I'll be in my trailer while you work on that.
Yeah, you just figure that shit out, okay, mister? And
literally.
No, that's what you would do.
Yeah, no, they are more prominent than they are rare in that situation.
Right.
And he'd been in the editing bay and realized how many beats he needed to cut from the conversation. That's got to make you smile as much as it did in Lake Como. When you see your actor on day 2 pull something like that.
Yeah, I said, I know you must hear this a lot, but I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I am so appreciative to be working with you.
Yeah.
And it just meant every word of that, and it never stopped. There was stuff like that. Nothing as good a story as that, but there was stuff like that every day, where it's just, you couldn't believe this guy was one of the biggest stars in the world, was completely aware and acting upon it and making sure that this was going to be kind of a smooth vessel. You know, it was spectacular.
You did a great deal of traveling to make the film. You got the concierge card from American Airlines?
Yeah, I got
At what point during the process did they decide to share that with you?
Can't
imagine that was something you asked for.
Once they saw the movie.
Seriously?
Yeah, they made sure the film was done. No, they told me they were going to give it to me, but I actually did only get it.
Because I chose, early on in my stand-up career, I knew I was going to be traveling.
Right.
And I chose one airline to get the credit card on and get miles, and it was American. And so a lot of that part spoke to me in terms of, here's something you're never going to see. When Sam Elliott walks up and sits down, are you fucking kidding me? It's just all so perfect and so fantasy, never going to happen, and here this moment's happening. And when he turns and says, I've rehearsed this moment or thought about this moment.
It means nothing to him now.
Yeah.
Here's the better card I have.
Okay.
So I know, as you must know, because you worked in every city, that where to eat every city you go to. Like, you must have a place. I mean, you know, because everyone tells you, and
this is where you got to go.
You've been around the country, 100 times. So I have this place that I love, this rib place, Fat Matt's Ribs in Atlanta, and I gave him a shout out in the movie. He actually says to Vera, when you go to Atlanta, you got to go Fat Matt's Ribs. And when I went to Atlanta with the film, the owner of Fat Matt's gave me that as a lifetime of ribs at Fat Matt's.
You laugh, but that is way better than what might come your way in terms of a statue. Holy shit. That's lifetime.
Cool. It's pretty cool.
That's way cool. And heads up on his part to pass that along. Sure, that's a no-brainer, but to know how much it means, I mean, you chose one restaurant. You had one restaurant to choose by name in that moment for the entire film. So, yeah, he's got to shit himself on that day.
I think he was pretty excited. By the way, Fat Matt, not so fat.
I like it even better.
I mean, you're expecting.
Yeah, the size of a house, quite frankly. He's been eating ribs all these years. So now, with the fantasy of Clooney and with the work ethic of Clooney, and stepping up all the anticipation, do you feel any of the pressure of delivering a film that just went from 0 to 60 based on his involvement in a wholly different way than perhaps the story you wanted to tell?
When I first started writing? Yeah, well, look, let's...
Even though you had it in mind when you were writing
This is everything that's going on in my head. One, my last movie was made for $7 million and grossed $230 million.
Right.
It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Actress. No matter what I do next will be a failure. Like, there's just
mathematically speaking,
there's no way to follow.
Fucked.
And by the way, and you have the greatest movie star in the world who is lovely and only does quality projects. So
and no one can get.
And fuck it up.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
I don't know that you will have more pressure than that. I mean, this is it in terms of all the things lining up.
You know what? This is what I've learned. Look, I'm young. I've had a short career so far, but I've been a witness to my father's career. Right. And the truth is, you do good work, you do bad work. Things that you think are going to be huge turn out to be fine. Things you were like, you just do casually. They turn into phenomenons. I didn't think Juno was going to be a phenomenon. I thought it was going to be an indie hit, like Thank You for Smoking.
Right.
And you just have to learn that you are never as good as people tell you are. You're never as bad as people. It's all this stuff that you hear, but it's actually true that you can't take it too seriously. I'm going to make bad movies. That's just the fact of it. I mean, everyone I admire has made bad movies.
Oh, no, it's inevitable.
You ever seen Billy Wilder's 1, 2, 3?
Is that the really bad one?
It follows The Apartment. So I remember I watched it, and I go see Billy Wilder's 1, 2, 3, and I'm like, this is really bad. Like, I didn't watch the whole thing. I literally turned off the movie. And I looked at the year, and it's 1961. The Apartment is 1960. The Apartment, perfect movie.
Yes.
Like,
flawless.
You can't, like, it's just every decision. It's aggravatingly perfect in its shooting, its acting, its right. It's just brilliant.
And then followed by
a movie I cannot watch.
Right.
Like, I literally cannot watch it.
I'm going to say 2 words to you, Jason. 2 words. Juno Man. Now, it's a really bad film I did.
I remember Juno Man.
No, you don't. Please don't. All I can tell you is that Will Smith was on board when I said yes. Just want the record clear. Okay, so...
But I'm feeling just as much pressure now. Like, I'm writing and I'm thinking. Like, I'm writing and I'm like...
Yeah. So, I threatened Rob Moore at the poker table the other night that his name would come up, so I need to deliver on that.
Okay.
And you mentioned briefly that you called the studio and said, I've got George, I'm sending the script over, we'd like to go in March.
Yeah.
What involvement are you with the studio with someone like George because of what we presume is the golden ticket?
They still want to know that I'm not crazy.
Sure.
You know, they want to talk to me about what kind of movie I want to make.
Right.
Look, the bravest move they did, and I applaud them on that, is they never asked me to change the ending of this film.
They didn't?
No, not once.
And you love to test films. What did the test audience say when they saw the...
You know.
Some
said they would have preferred a different ending.
Half. You used the word half a moment ago.
Yeah. No, that's
okay,
true.
now, when the studio sees half, want a different ending, even then they said nothing.
No.
That is
our score was still good. Yes, no. There was this thing. Well, first, the movie was relatively inexpensive. We made this one for $25. Again, I know you're thinking like
it's
$25 million.
Making a George Clooney movie for $25 million is impossible.
No, I mean I was very proud. I was still I looked back and I was like, we could end up for 20, really? But look, 25.
That's impossible.
For them is
that's his price tag.
That's a win-win. They look at it and they go, 25, we're going to make money. So
that's his price tag. I don't even understand the math of that.
I mean, no, but he don't. No, but he, you know, obviously he defers. Right. But it becomes a question of not whether this is going to make money, because the studio basically goes, you're making a movie with George Clooney, you seem to make things that are reasonably funny. $25 million, we're going to make money somehow. So then the only question in their mind is, but we could make a lot of money, you know. Right. if you just switch that end, I mean. Have you seen Jerry Maguire? We can make a lot of money. And
but by the way, mathematically speaking and statistically speaking, you have to know that that is correct.
Oh yeah, no. So we've made $73 million to today.
Almost 100 worldwide.
Yeah. So we're going to end up doing around 80 domestic, and we'll wind up with, I don't know, like 130 or so, you know, worldwide. They made money fine. Cost 25, gross 130, you make money. But could this movie have done 120, 130 domestic, like $40, $50 million more, had the ending been different? Maybe. So that's, I still would have made this movie, obviously. So the big thing is that the studio said, we're getting in business with you to make that kind of film, and we're on board. And it's guys like Rob Moore and Brad Gray and Adam Goodman, who not for a second ever said, God, you know, not even jokingly, honestly.
That's astounding to me, because Rob is a guy who...
he likes succeeding.
Well, they all do. We all do. But he prides himself, and in fact, we test him at the poker table all the time, to come within a few dollars of a coming weekend opening box office, where a film's going to finish out at. He would have lost a big bet to Sammy on Inglourious Bastards because he undersold, which a lot of people did, because, you know, Quentin's movies
well, they didn't realize your value.
Yeah, exactly.
They had no idea.
I have a huge fan base, huge theoretical indie fan base, who came out and supported.
140
characters on Twitter, and watch what happens.
But seriously, he's a guy who, as a lot of them are, has all of that in mind, has to have all of that in mind, and knows he's got a George Clooney, knows that he's got a guy that's just coming off Juno for $230 million worldwide, sees the possibilities that you could get another 50, possibly double your domestic.
Right.
And the fact that they don't step up. Do you have George standing behind you also saying, we're keeping this ending, it's perfect?
I mean, look, to a certain extent they know that it's like, if you look, he's a poker player, Rob Moore. So he understands...
One of the best
yes.
I've played with.
He understands following the moves. So he understands, okay, if I say change the ending, Jason goes to George, goes, they want to change the ending. And then George calls me and goes, hey, what are you dicking around with my director for? This is the movie we're making. So why even go down that road? And I'm sure that's going through their mind, but never brought it up. Not for a second. And it certainly makes me want to make more movies with Paramount, I'll tell you that.
And then there's the upside, isn't it? Seriously.
Yeah, I guess so.
Him,
they
it's
know
an investment.
I'm going to keep on making movies with those guys. And look, I respect the fact that they give me money to make movies. And I think that is something that separates me from a lot of directors for some strange reason. And I think it's because my father is the kind of filmmaker that he is. My father's always been producer, director, both hats. And look, I want to make personal stories. I want to make challenging stories, but they're not made for free. I'm not a painter. Like, if I want to do something for free, go make a sculpture. Because then you
or a web series.
Yes, or a web series. Then you can do whatever the hell you want. But you don't even have to direct it. No. Sorry. But
yeah, you're not working for free, and these things cost money.
But if they're going to give you $25 million, you're
going to respect that.
And they're going to put that much or more into putting it out there.
Right.
That's real fucking money. Don't be an asshole. Like, respect the fact that they're giving you this money and that people should see it. And if you don't expect people to see it, make it for less. Thank You for Smoking. Maybe people don't want to see a movie about that. Lobbyists for Big Tobacco. Make that for less.
Yeah. Where in this process is the decision to have your father as a producer with you?
Really early. I mean, so what happened was, I was terrified of working with him because of all the bullshit. Like, I don't want to hear. I don't want people to think for a second that this movie is the result of nepotism and that I'm working with my father.
Just when you're out from under.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, you pull him back in.
But what happened was, I had written Thank You for Smoking. No one would make it. I found Up in the Air. There was about to be a what is it called? People were going to fight for the rights of it, and I knew I wasn't going to win that on my own. And so I actually told my dad, "You should buy this for yourself. You should direct Up in the Air. This is a perfect project for you."
Jesus.
And in the back of my head, I kind of knew, he's not going to actually direct this in the end. But there was a part of me that knew he may actually love this and direct it himself. And I even wrote 30 pages, like in a weekend. And I said, because I said, you're not going to maybe get the book, but here's 30 pages of screenplay, which will show you the character and tone and all that. And he loved it, and he went after it, and he developed it. And in fact, while I was making Smoking and Juno and writing my Up in the Air draft, my father was simultaneously developing a script with another set of writers. So there's another screenplay that is on a simultaneous track as mine for him to direct. And after Juno, it finally came to this kind of like, I think I'm going to finish my Up in the Air draft. I'd like to direct it. Are you really still going to direct that, Dad? No, you should direct it. And that's how it happened.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. So he was developing it on his own.
Yes.
So was he anywhere near the ideas or in talks of who might direct his version?
No, he was going to direct his version, and he just never got a screenplay that worked.
So he worked on it for a couple of years.
7 years.
Time-wise,
we
7
both
years.
Worked on it for 7 years. So
and he never got a draft that he wanted to shoot.
No, but that's common. I mean, he has 10 different things that he's working on.
Right. And so after 7 years, he says, "Nah, no, you should direct this."
Yeah.
And what does that make you feel like?
Well, I don't know. I kind of knew that was going to happen in the back of my head. So it wasn't like this.
After 7 years.
Yeah, it wasn't a big moment like for the two. Like, I understand what you're trying to.
I'm trying to live the moment, and to me, 7 years of his life, and of course he has.
He's got
whether it's 10 or 30 projects all going during those 7 years.
That wasn't a biggie. If he had asked me to direct Ghostbusters 3, that would be like a really. But like this wasn't the handing the car keys. Or like this wasn't like a moment. Honestly, the big moments on this film. The biggest moment happened over the weekend. The weekend that we are currently in.
Really?
Yeah, it happened last night.
That was Saturday night?
Saturday night. Last night was the Directors Guild Awards.
Right.
And I was nominated for a Directors Guild Award. And I grew up, every summer, I never went to summer camp. I would go with my dad to set. 6 a.m., my dad would go wake me up. There'd be a Teamster, like with a car. He would get in the passenger seat. I would get in the back seat. And I would watch my dad on the way to set. Go and read the scene before the one he was shooting, the scene, the one after, go through a shot list, go through ideas, come up with lines of dialogue, pitch stuff to me. And I learned to direct watching him. There was never a room I was not allowed in. I would sit with him in pitch meetings. I would sit with him in writing meetings, editing room, everything. There was just kind of this understanding that I was going to be there and it was okay. And people kind of knew, like by the time I was 8, you're going to be a director. Like people would just tell me that constantly, and I just kind of knew that I was having the greatest film school anyone's ever had.
Absolutely.
And he was a member of the Directors Guild. And I remember seeing his name. I would go through that book that they send out that has all the names, and I would see his name there. Right. And I remember I saw Carl Reiner and Rob Reiner's name on the same page. It was REI, the same, they were close.
Oh, right.
And I would think, oh, fathers and sons, they could be in this thing. And I thought, wow, one day my name's going to be next to my dad's in the Directors Guild thing. And he had a card, and we talked about like how much I love cards. He had a card in his wallet. He had an eagle on it. It said Directors Guild of America, Ivan Reitman. I thought, one day I'm going to be a member of this guild. That every important director has ever lived has been a member of this guild. And they're tough, the Directors Guild. I mean, that's a nomination that really means something. It is a guild of working filmmakers, and my father's never been nominated for a Directors Guild. Awards are tough on comedy, and
sure are.
And last night I got nominated for a Directors Guild award, and I went up, and the way the Directors Guild works is every nominee goes up, accepts a plaque, and gives an acceptance speech. That all 5 nominees are actual winners. Then,
so you go there not knowing who's going to be nominated?
You don't know. No, you know who's going to be nominated, and then one of those 5 is going to win.
Okay.
But it's kind of an afterthought. It's like throughout the evening, each nominee is presented with something as if you were one of the 5, you have, in that sense, won. And
by the way, that's the only way that these awards actually make sense, too, because it's always been the belief.
Right.
That it's a cliche to say, well, it's just great to be nominated. But quite frankly, it is.
Yeah.
You're winning the lottery if you should win. It's a fluky, weird combination of
is
things.
This kind of
the nomination
strange thing.
is the victory.
Yeah, because you can't compare. Look, the 5 nominees this year were Avatar, Hurt Locker, Precious, Inglourious Bastards, and my film.
Could not be more diverse.
These could not. I mean, how do you even compare? I mean, they were all very well directed for what kind of film they are, and in some cases, as best directed as this kind of film has ever been.
Your ride
but
is here.
Like, sorry.
Your ride is here.
But yeah, there's no way to decide. So anyway, so I go to accept this plaque. And I look at my dad, and he's sitting there. There's this huge, big ballroom, Century Plaza. Everyone's in tuxedos, and I always remember the guild that my father's. And oddly enough, Carl Reiner is, the host of these things, the guy whose name I saw on the page, whose son also was a director. Wow. And I talked about what it was like being in that car, watching him, and how now I go to set and I sit in the passenger seat, and I read the scene, and I think about what my dad would have said about this scene.
Wow.
What would he have suggested? What would he have done? When I come up with an idea, what would he have thought of that? And I'm sitting here with this plaque that he never got one of, and now I have one, and it belongs to him way more than it belongs to me, because it belongs to him because he's given me 32 years of access, 32 years of information that no one else on earth has had. And in that moment, having made this film together, that was the moment. Not the moment he said, do you want to direct this yourself? Right. It was 32 years of him being a great dad.
Right.
It was this last year where every night we would talk, and we had to bifurcate our conversations because there's a difference between the way you talk to your dad and the way you talk to your producer. And he's a producer on this film, and like literally we'd have to do like father-son conversation. We'd say, how's mom? What's going on? And I'm like really like nice. And then now, look, Dad.
This is what I need, goddammit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, look, you got to get off my ass about this stuff. I'm getting the shots I need. I know what shots I need. And he's like, really? Because it didn't look like you went away into the scene. Look, I'm going to get into the scene by doing this, all right?
And is there
now say
moments,
I love you to Mom.
Yeah. Are there moments when he's talking to you as a producer where it feels like what it really is, which is your dad.
You know, it crosses the line.
It has to.
Oh, it definitely. And
you start to feel like the son who's saying, Dad, I did clean my fucking room.
Yes! No, totally. I mean, that's the problem is, at a certain point, I would say, this is going to sound so awful, but I would have to say, like, Dad, I'm an Oscar-nominated director. Just, if you could please, you know.
How would you talk to another Oscar-nominated director who isn't your son?
Exactly. And that was really tricky, and it was tough, and it was a lot of like, all right, let's hug, and like, let's, you know, get past this, and
he wants you to be the best for all the right reasons.
Yeah, and
only one of which is that you're his son.
All he wants is for the film to be great, and for me to succeed. So spending that whole year figuring that relationship out. And look, you know, one of the most important decisions on this film was putting the real people in the movie. Everyone who gets fired in this movie is someone who, besides J.K. and a couple of actors you recognize, is someone who actually just lost their job in St. Louis or Detroit.
That comes across, by the way.
And that decision came from my nightly conversations where my father would say, this is an important moment. We're in one of the worst recessions on record. You have to capture that. What are you seeing every day? And I would say, you know, today I walked into an office building and there was nothing but telephones sitting on the ground where desks used to be. Or I walked into an office.
Very powerful moment in the film.
Yeah, and they had piled chairs into a room, and these chairs used to belong to people, and it's like abandoned bodies in a room. And we would talk about this every night, and he said, you are making the document for what's happening this year with this recession. Keep that in mind. Don't fuck it up. And it was in these conversations I said, well, what if we got real people? And that's what a producer does. He gets the best out of a director.
Right.
And he got the best out of me. And because he's my dad, I trust him more than anyone else. So last night was, and we're both crying. I'm looking at it in the audience. He's crying and I'm crying. And I went backstage because after you win something, they want to take photos of you.
Sure.
And I literally had to, I couldn't do the photo. I went into a bathroom and I literally had to kind of stop myself from crying because the last night was the moment where kind of everything he had taught me came to fruition, everything on this film came to fruition, that the kind of realization of this weight, the kind of the power of what we share. So few people are directors. So few people actually know what it is to direct and to tell stories and to do this for a living in a real way. I mean, there's less than 100 working directors in the world.
Right.
There's like 6 billion people on the planet. Less than 100 are directors, and my dad and I happen to be 2 of them.
Right.
You know, we share something that, you know, almost no father-son share, and I'm going on and on. Sorry, but that that's what happened.
You just informed all that I wanted you to and was hoping to hear, because it's a very delicate situation that the rest of us sit on the outside and pretend we know what that must be like. But you don't. You don't know any of it in terms of the filmmaking process, let alone producing with your father after all these years of him being a mentor and a father, him being a teacher, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
I
think I have to do Larry King and get out of
here. We've done the hour and a half. We had other things planned, one of which, I'm sorry, Sam, was a Twitter game we play, so you'll have to come back when you have a little more time.
I'm sorry.
No. This was my decision. This was my decision. I have a few questions I'd like to ask from our viewers, because I insist on involving them.
Sure.
At Elaine Ewing at your Twitter. Okay, she's got 3 of them here. What are your favorite old movies? This one we haven't touched on. Of which writers, directors from the past do you look for inspiration? You mentioned Billy Wilder. Is there anyone else other than your father's work as well, which you were so closely involved in his process? You must have your favorites. You must have.
I look, the lineage
who informed your
that
work.
I'm trying to follow starts with Preston Sturges, goes to Billy Wilder, goes to Hal Ashby, and then goes to James L. Brooks, Cameron Crowe, Alexander Payne, and I want to be in that line. That's, the dream. I don't mean that arrogantly. I would have to do what I'm doing for decades, which is very, very tough and highly unlikely, but that is what I'd like to do.
Step 1, 2, and 3 of your first 3 films puts you on that trajectory. So Yeah, as long as you remain hungry, as you said.
There's many stories of people who have started great careers, you know.
Absolutely.
And,
no, you touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
When you lose the hunger, you're done.
And look, and I may not have the goods. We'll see. But those are the guys.
At LateBloomer206 on... That's what you put for a Twitter name. When everything else is taken. On Fresh Air...
The person who does not want to get laid.
Yeah. On Fresh Air, you said something about women who were raised to expect more than the world could give. Mm-hmm. You gave your wife as an example, and she would like to hear more.
The idea was this: I wanted to explore the idea of female midlife crisis on this film. That I know a series of women, and I'm sure you do too, who are really smart, motivated women who became career women and were promised by feminism that they could do anything they wanted, be anything they wanted, and have everything. But everyone comes to a realization in life that you can't have everything. That life has sacrifice, and it is usually that leads to midlife crisis, that you realize you can't have everything you want, and now you want to live a double life somehow, and that's what makes Alex the character that she is. And that's a tricky idea, and it's not something that is easily talked about, and I know I leave myself open up to criticism by even mentioning it, but I know so many I've fallen in love with so many smart women who went through identity crisis in their 30s because they worked so hard to achieve the careers that they have and have gotten into their mid-30s and suddenly stopped wondering, wait, but I want to be a wife, a mom, and have my career, and I want to be romantic, and I want a guy to fall in love with me, and like I want everything, and no one has it all. Right, is the truth, and I don't see movies dealing with that, so I wanted to deal with that.
Well, please continue to. And thank you unbelievably so for sharing all that you have today. We passed over the Twitter games. You'll have to come back for that. We have a thing, Tweet 5. You'll have to come back for that. I just wanted to make sure that you would have to come back.
It'd be my absolute pleasure.
Yeah, well, please. This has really been great, and I appreciate the tutorial along with all the insight. And I'm going to send you the script. Your production company is producing other films, so I'd love you to speak to that on a soon after return engagement. That's all very exciting stuff. That's your camera, sir. I'm sure you've figured that part out yet. When you're ready with your Larry King, that's the one you'll be staring at.
Okay.
And when you're ready.
Okay. Shit. Sorry, this is actually scary. I don't want to screw this one up. I keep a bubblegum machine next to my bedside filled with Plan B pills. My teenage girlfriend has one every night. And I do too, just for safekeeping. Cathedral City, Florida, you're on.
Wow! Wow! That's commitment. That's good writing. And good performing, sir.
Thank you very much.
You hit all three. Whew! Yeah. Almost as hair-raising as George Clooney in Lake Como. The Larry King game. Thank you so much. Sit there, if you wouldn't mind, uncomfortably. I'll get you out of here in 1 minute. I'll just say goodbye to the folks.
Sure.
There you have it, folks. On the brink of more potential nominations and tremendous success and of a great career thus far, as he said. We'll see how it goes. That's about as good as this all gets. Let's take a look outside the studio, what my crew has been up to during what I consider to be one of the greater 93 minutes we've spent on this particular show. I'm sure they're doing something important.
Previously on KPCS.
Epic. We are watching here.
Where's my crew? Oh, the smoke! That's nice. All right. Next Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. I've yet to find a guest who will agree to come on. After that, we've got Henry Winkler, Sean William Scott, Bob Saget, some other great folks. Don't go anywhere. Annie Duke for poker players, and talk about women who try to capture and complete it all. But some great shows, and we had a phenomenally successful one here today, and I'm unbelievably proud of this whole crew. And we'll see you next time. Until then, as always, get out of my face.